I look at the issue through a completely different lens now. And for me, it has become crystal clear.
Cllr Crocker next, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Now, over the last few days, I've received a huge number of emails from residents pleading with me to vote down the substantive motion to uphold the Council's climate emergency declaration of 2019. These emails were invariably extremely well written. The language, the choice of words have been carefully thought through. And I have to say they've certainly caught my attention. It has given me pause for thought. Now, I have to say my original position was as follows. I honestly regarded the declaration of a climate emergency as ostensibly virtue signalling. I often regarded it as hollow words that paid lip service to the subject for the simple reason that so many other policies invariably conflicted. So take last week, for example, the South Warwickshire local plan that was voted through at Stratford District Council. The Liberal Democrats, who are so seemingly wedded to the climate emergency declaration, chose to overlook it on that particular day because it did not suit them. Dave Passingham, the leader of the Greens, said in Stratford, "Our high hopes have been dashed." He went on to say, "It's the worst possible solution for carbon emissions and climate change." So 1 minute you have a climate emergency and the very next you seemingly don't. I often refer to, obviously living as I do in Stratford-upon-Avon, the A439, the Warwick Road, the cycle lane, comes out of Stratford, leads nowhere, practically used by nobody. Where was the carbon footprint when the 22,000 square metres of new carriageway, the 8,400 new square metres of new cycle lane, the 3,000 curbstones were being produced? What about the brand new steel barriers in place, not to mention the felling of the trees and the loss of the greenery? And really, where was the reference to the climate emergency when this was all being built? It was nowhere. It was completely defenestrated when it suited. So yeah, I have to say I regarded the declaration of the climate emergency as really no more than a facade, really, something of a fig leaf, so to speak. But having received so many emails recently, having seen the demonstrations outside today, having watched the behaviour of the public in the public gallery, the comments from our councillors, the behaviour of one particular district councillor at a parish council meeting last night, I look at the issue through a completely different lens now. And for me, it has become crystal clear. The need to uphold this declaration, Chair, has absolutely nothing to do with climate. It is everything to do with how the left operates. This is a lobbying device that they use to try and gain influence. It is what they do. Deliberately divisive. They create their own climate, ironically, in this chamber, in our public debate, where anyone who merely questions their orthodoxy is mocked, derided, ridiculed, or cancelled or worse. Disagreement is personalised, as we just saw there. Motives are totally impugned. They create a binary world in which you're either friend or foe. This device of the far left is to shut down honest debate rather than to open it up. So let me make it crystal clear. It is undeniable that the climate is changing. What we're proposing today is a series of targeted measures that deal directly with the consequence of climate change. I'm going to repeat that for the record. It is undeniable that the climate is changing. What we are proposing today is a series of targeted measures that deal directly with the consequences of climate change. What concerns me really is what these declarations frequently lead to totally absurd consequences. It's undeniable, preposterous that we shut down our own oil and gas fields in the North Sea and then go on to buy it from our next door neighbours in Norway. Because now we've got our own man-made energy bill crisis, we've got our own pension crisis, we've got a social care crisis, while Norway has a huge sovereign wealth fund that means it will never face any of these problems. And I'm going to skip over the whole issue of industrial carbon capture and storage, maybe for another day. But by creating this environment of fear, of impending catastrophe, the left believe that they can control the narrative. Now, if we are to talk about an emergency, towering above all of them is the sovereign debt crisis in the UK. It is politicians who have run up an unsustainable public debt, promised everything to everyone, and then pretended there will never be a day of reckoning. Ignore this emergency at your peril. So the Reform UK substantive motion today is not about pretending climate change does not exist. It's about refusing to participate in divisive theatrics. We're simply not playing those games. We should focus on what it can measurably influence: flood resilience, drainage, protection of homes and businesses, secure and affordable energy, and an evidence-based response to a changing climate. So I support the substantive motion, and I ask that we start to rebuild an honest, grown-up approach to climate and to all the other crises that are bearing down on our residents. Thank you.